Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the special meeting to order. First action would be on the agenda. Amended in any way, shape, or form. The agenda is good. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Just one item on the agenda tonight. Hopefully, I can keep that in order. The item is the discussion and possible action to direct staff to repair the pool. As you recall, on Monday night, we did have some discussion, but it was not an actionable item on the agenda, so that's why we're back here this evening. So, I'll open it up to any further discussion necessary from the board.
Can you hear me now? So I just have some questions, just to make sure I'm understanding everything. And so when I look at this list from January, basically, January 11th for the 881,000 plus some change, the ADA lift for the swimming pool. Can that be used for the new pool as the ADA solution? So it would transfer over?
If we need for ADA, we have the ramp on the one side, the new pool, and then there'd be the lift. You have to have multiple entry points for ADA, and so that would be, like was mentioned last week or on Monday, the lift. The only thing that would need to be redone would just be the piping in the floor. But the lift itself, the chair, all that would just come over to the new space.
Okay, and then this is probably more of a question for Stephen, and I think I know what the answer is, but I just want some confirmation. So when you replace a wall tile with chip and epoxy paint, there you are. I'm kind of assuming the epoxy paint is going to actually protect the walls from the humidity and wear and tear, so that we don't have to redo the walls at once we convert it into something else.
That's correct. It's supposed to create a waterproof barrier to help, make that chipboard last as long as possible, no matter what the space is, pool or whatever afterwards.
Okay, I thought that
multi-purpose.
Okay, perfect. And then for the HVAC units, so my understanding is the HVAC units have to be customized. Is that right?
The HVAC units, they're not customized. The unit that we have to order just isn't a unit that you have sitting on a shelf because it's pool specific.
Right.
But it's not a custom unit. It's just sized according to the space. So
yeah, I thought I heard Dr. Scheiger on WCLO say it was customized, but it's just special orders. Gotcha. What is it? So those two HVAC units, I'm assuming we need two of them.
We would be replacing two with one.
You'd be replacing two HVACs, but there's one.
There's two that are there now.
Yeah.
And those two units are housed, inside the pool area, kind of everything is under the roof. We'd be replacing it with a rooftop unit that would sit on the roof above the existing mechanical space, and we're either going to tie into existing ductwork or redo the ductwork, most likely redo because of the problems that we have with the returns and 50 plus years supply of ductwork should just be redone anyway.
So on this estimate, this estimate, it says two for 208,000. So are you saying it will actually be one for 104,000?
No, that should say one, and that kind of caught me off guard too, and I actually had to do the math to make sure it still ended up, but it should be a quantity of one for 208.
Okay, and can that rooftop unit also be moved over to the new pool if need be?
Most likely not.
Okay.
The rooftop that we'd be putting on this space would be, made for a space of approximately, 7,000 square feet, 20-foot high ceilings. But a new pool would be, almost 18 to 20,000 square feet. So you'd have a quite larger unit.
Yeah. So what's the cost difference between this specialized pool HVAC unit and just a normal, if that were a space for like gymnastics, wrestling, classrooms, or whatever? Obviously, you had to put another. You would have to put a HVAC unit up there, but I would imagine it wouldn't have to be as specialized. It'd be probably a different cost. Do you know what the difference between that is?
I don't have that number right in front of me, but you are right. The unit that we are putting on is more pool specific, so it's aluminum, stainless steel construction, heat exchangers, all that good stuff. But I could, I would say it's quite a substantial difference, maybe $20,000-$30,000.
Then one thing that I was talking to one of the community members, and I think Joe, I think you were actually came up and we were kind of talking with the community member, and there was some discussion of obviously this is just an estimate because it's an estimate, and that is for budgetary purposes and everything. Do we plan on getting 3 bids?
We will, yes.
Okay.
For all that stuff, we will prepare bid documents, and that will go out. That's step 1 upon the board giving us direction.
Okay.
To proceed.
Getting 3 bids, will that give you enough time though? Since I know that we wanted to order stuff like Monday night.
We have the unit picked out.
Mm-hmm.
So we have everything specified, everything's picked out. That can go out the door tomorrow, and I can have a quick turnaround time.
So you already? I'm sorry. Did you say you already have the 3 bids, or
no? I have the unit. We have the unit picked out.
Okay.
So we have the unit sized by Raymaker and Associates, and that can go out the door. For bid.
For bid.
Yes.
How long would it take the bid process, though?
I'd like to confirm with Daryl, who's not here right now, but we can tighten that up pretty quick.
Okay. Okay. I guess the only other question I have is for Tim, so I just wanted to comment on this because every once in a while I'll get some communications from citizens, and I just received it before I got in here, and the concern of, and I can just essentially what it says in here is Shiger ordered materials to fix the pool before January 14th, board agenda in session. Obviously, when you get these things, you don't know, whether it's legitimate or not. But can you just kind of comment as to whether or not these parts have been ordered?
Well, I think Stephen just answered that. We're going to put it out to bid, so nothing's been ordered. And I asked Stephen to prepare for the talk to Daryl about the process, so that way, if the board Monday or today or whenever this conversation was going to happen. To be ready to move, because if it's 19 weeks out to get some things in, we want to be prepared. So I did ask Stephen to get the ducks in a row so we can start the process as soon as possible. But as you said, or as Stephen said, the bids haven't gone out yet.
Yeah, so nothing's been ordered.
Nothing's been ordered.
Okay.
Other than Stephen, please get ready to go so we can get the ball rolling tomorrow, in this case, or whenever the board would say go.
Okay. That's all I had.
Can you say the spot? Say we're going to probably do this.
Well,
with the manufacturing,
we have
manufacturing. You say we're planning on getting one here. Can you say the spot?
Well, the big thing is that because it's a specialized build, then they would know that what would need to get done. That's why the 50% down. So the 104 and then whatever else is needed for that part to get that going, that would obviously lock that in and show that we are serious about it. And that's why they require it. A, the lead time, and B, the specialization of the specialized version of this unit.
Actually, I'm sorry, I do have one more question. Tim, from a budgetary purpose, obviously, assuming, well, hopefully, we're successful at the referendum. But until that time, with the down payment and everything, how's that going to work with the budget? Like, where's it coming from, and is something else have to fall through the cracks to cover it?
Not at this point. What we're going to do is we will take it out of Stephen's budget. He's got some of the projects that come later on that that will be bid out in the spring. We're still planning on doing all of those. The big thing is that when the referendum passes, then we'll have the resources to cover this fully. If there's a non-passage of the referendum, then we will be running in the red. And then we have a couple options for that. One is the $1 million exemption. Second option would be fund balance. But we will be able to cover the upfront costs with current budget, and it will not likely, with the down payment stuff, impact the larger budget. We believe with how the budget fluctuates, as you know, we always plan for the most conservative revenue and the most liberal spending, meaning that every position is filled at all times, those kinds of things. We know it's not the case. So that's how we end up typically having some money at the end of the year for fund balance to put into fund balance. But if to pay for this entire project after April 2nd, if there is a no vote for the referendum, then we will be running in the red. And I don't know what that dollar amount is yet, because obviously there's a lot of things in motion. But to be straight up transparent, we will be in the red if that's the case. But we believe that the referendum will be successful, and so we'll go from there. But there are two pathways to do that, should we need to. Yeah.
Okay.
I can just add a couple more things to that too. The way the project will work and the way the timing works too is that while the project itself is laid out at $881,000, it'll most likely straddle 2 fiscal years. It's like you talk about the HVAC unit, you talk about the first steps of the process. So HVAC. We'll have to get the wall tile down, all that stuff. That'll probably be in 18, 19. There'll be some expenses in 19, 20. But like Jim said, it'll just run through my budget as account code wise. And in springtime, depending on how utilities shake out, knock on wood, we don't get any snow. That stuff can bounce back in to help us out with those costs. So,
Thank you.
We were talking on the way in a couple of board members about the we just don't understand.
We have the ability to borrow without asking the electorate up to $1 million. Now, it doesn't have to be a full million. It could be up to whatever that dollar amount is. And then that would then be in our payment under the debt service. So we would work with Barrett or whomever to secure that bond for whatever that dollar amount is, and then that will be part of our debt service payments over whatever period of time we determine, so we can keep the cost. It could be a 10-year borrow, it could be a 5-year, it could be a 20-year, however we decide to do that. But we can borrow up to $1 million without going to the electorate. That's how that works.
We want to make sure. Is it under the cap of your payments, or is it under the?
It would be under our levy.
Yeah. Okay.
So, and that's why we would, if we had to go to that route, we would look at what is a payment price point that we could afford and not take from other programming. So that's why we'd look for, before a borrow would occur, we would look at the number of years based on, again, how much we could afford in the operational side of the ledger. But it's under the capital, or I'm sorry, the debt service area.
One of the questions we had also was the frequency and what we can do that. Can we do that? Could we do it every year if we chose to? Or every 5 years? Is there a stipulation on how many years we can do that?
You can do it, but you have to pay it. And so you can't keep borrowing and keep adding and then go beyond $1 million. And so obviously each time you borrow, there's going to be a different interest rate for that chunk. So you borrow for $300,000, you borrow another one for $700,000. Well, there's going to be a fluctuation there, but you can't go beyond that. And you can obviously the smaller the bond, the more costly it is in the sense that if you're going through the process of legal and the fees and all that. But with as we look at this project, like Stephen said, there's this is the construction budget only, not the hard bid and all that. So our goal would hopefully be that whatever the best case scenario price wise would be, and that we wouldn't have to go that route should when the voters support the referendum on April 2nd. But we do have a couple options there though. So, and again, one was fund balance, which we know the pros and cons of going that route. But to Brian's point, if we do get if the money's not there April 3rd, then we need to, or in May as we move on and go on. But if then we would be in the red for a period of time. And like Stephen said, we can split some of the work into July 1st on, so the next fiscal year. And then what we do is we would look at the projects that would be slated for that year, for next year, and either put them on hold, not do them, whatever, so we wouldn't run additional red for 1920.
If I could, I'll just add a little bit of clarity with respect to Board Member Pierce's question about the $1 million exemption. It actually is two different funding sources. One is called Fund 38, which is that kind of a debt service comes within your existing revenue limit. So for what that would mean is if that would be an option that the board would choose, then those debt service payments would have to be within our annual revenue limit budget. So as we would put together the 2019-2020 budget, whatever that debt service payment may be, now in an effort to avoid issuance costs, we might do something like the state trust fund loan or something like that, or it would be Baird who would provide you with analysis of both options, because the state trust fund loan doesn't have all of those different, the business office and I and Stephen, we've been working together to look at how we could mitigate if for some reason April 2nd was not successful for us. The straddling of two budgets is one of his good strategies that really doesn't have any impact other than other capital projects that he would be planning. So in February, we'll come to you with kind of the two-option plan when he presents his capital improvement and maintenance budget. That will have one with the referendum successful, the other one maybe without, so that way you can see what both options would look like. And again, with respect to Fund 39 debt, that's with the referendum. If that were successful, then you would have the opportunity to see that's additional monies that are outside of the revenue limit. So that's the option that is obviously more preferable, because then we're not looking at programming or the capital maintenance and improvement budget that comes within existing local levy dollars. That makes more sense.
Are there any other questions?
I just want to comment and thank Stephen for being ready to go and do your due diligence, because if the pool closes, I mean, our athletes are going to be at a disadvantage the way it is, because even if we get open for the season, they wouldn't have all the opportunity to practice in that pool, which causes more chance for injury and so forth. So the sooner we get going on this, the better for them. And as a former coach, I want my athletes to be the best that they can be, because I know the pride that goes along with it. So I really appreciate you being on top of this and being ready to go and doing what we can for our athletes and for getting the pool as much out of it as we can.
Okay. With that, I would entertain a motion to take a vote.
Mr. President, I would move to have the board vote on for lack of a better way to characterize it, the pool study magnitude construction estimate prepared by Raymaker and Associates that's in front of us that outlines pool repairs that are estimated at $616,500, and then plus contingencies estimated at $881,000.
Okay.
Wow, including contingencies, yes, $881,000.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Do we have any further conversations, questions before we do the roll call vote? Hearing none, we'll start on this time. Yes.
Yes.
Tom, yes. Karen?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mike?
Yes.
So it passes unanimously. Thank you, everyone. I especially want to thank the community for coming forward with their passion about this and about the importance it is not only to the students but also to the community. And that's greatly appreciated. We've been talking about this for a long time. So I'm glad we're at a point where we can move on, and we do have some plans for the future if the referendum should not pass. So I appreciate all the hard work that everyone has done to get to this point. So thank you very much. At this point, I'd entertain a motion for adjournment.
I make the motion to adjourn.
Karen? Made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? So moved. I think this might be the shortest meeting, maybe on record.